Your problems arise when you think about things the way you want to think about things, regardless of their relationship to reality. This means you have decided in your mind that your mind is pretty much okay. It knows how to think, knows the right things to think about, knows what it wants. However, something else doesn't occur to you, which is the wanter, that is, the person who wants to think in a certain way, is a demander. You say you want to think a certain way? Well, you do, and there's a demand in there. And where there's a demand, there is a false identity there, and there is fear. And there is hostility. And there is suspicion. And there is neurosis. You say, I want a certain event to turn out the way I want it to turn out. Who are you talking about? That you want the event to turn out the way you want it to turn out. Who are you talking about? You have never in your life asked that essential question. Who are you talking about when you say I, me, mine? And if you don't find out what you're talking about, you will be talking nonsense and stay exactly as you are now, a human being without a mind of his own, a mind who belongs to everyone else, to every event, to every other person. You will not, unless you investigate it, I gave you already, unless you investigate that, you will not have a mind of your own, but you will think that you will have and do have. All you've got is a collection of certain ambitious, yes, greedy, preconceived thoughts as to how that event should unfold before you, or how that person should behave, of what you should get, of what you should attain. You want the outcome, the result, to match your preconceived desire. This is the way you go through your whole day, and this is why you're an unhappy human being. You're not happy. None of you. None of you are happy in the smallest way. You don't even know what it means to be happy. You know what it means on the law of averages to strike, say, a 50% score. Sometimes you get what you want. You think that is justice. That is rightness. That's what you so richly deserve to get it. And when the other 50% comes along and you're denied what you demand, you get mad. And you get afraid. Now, if you have any acute honesty about the operation of your mind and life, you will see that I've told you how it is. Now, knowing that, now knowing what the problem is, you can go on from my description with words of the problem to see that it's actually is what is happening to you. That's not life at all. You have no mind. You have no mind of your own because you've sold it to everyone. You've sold it to the lowest bidder. Well, don't you know? Let's see if you can figure this out. It's very easy to figure out if you really want to do it. You like people who confirm you and dislike people who don't. You like to be around the individual, the woman, the man, the crowd, the congregation, the aggregation of people. You go where you think you are approved, accepted, affirmed, and stay away from those who don't approve, affirm you. All this is game of folly. Do you want to be different from everyone you know? Look at everyone you know, and you'll see that I've described them. Desperate, frantic people, always having to put on the act, always feeling empty and wanting to fill up that emptiness, but with terror that it might not exist. That's you. I know you. Oh, how well I know you. If you're a stranger and came in here, I know you. The great unseen, chronic, underlying anxiety and tension of your life is that there might not be an answer to your question. That there might not be satisfaction for your dissatisfaction. You're afraid underneath, and I'm exposing this to you, and you should let yourself be exposed right now. You're afraid that there is no wisdom or no person or no place that is stronger and wiser and higher than you. You're afraid it doesn't exist. Now, all human beings feel this way, just as you do. And they do the stupid thing instead of the intelligent thing. The dangerous thing they do is to activate their imagination and set up their own answer, of which there are 1,000 varieties. Could be the alcohol, could be the new sex partner, could be the ambition, it could be the religious creed. You set up an answer, try to believe in it, and try to ride on it, and you sink. I'll give you an illustration of that. Here's a thief. And he goes down to the dock, and there's a boat there, pretty good sized boat. And he doesn't know that the boat is condemned, ready to fall apart. He's so eager to steal it and get something from it that he doesn't look at it closely. He's working in the dark. He starts the boat up and it goes out in the ocean 5 or 10 miles. He's going to try to make it to another harbor where he can sell it. And he's out on the ocean, a little storm comes up. The boat disintegrates, falls apart. He goes down with it, splash, and he gulps. But he looks around. I'm describing your life. This is you I'm talking about. The parts of the sides and the cabin are all scattered all around the ocean around him. And he hopes that one of them will support him long enough to float back to shore. So he gets on one floating piece. It holds him up for a few minutes, and then it sinks, and he sinks too. He sees another piece over there, and frantically flops on over there and gets on top of it, holds him up for a little bit, then he sinks. Another one. I've told you your life. Your real life as it actually exists, even while you're trying to pretend that it doesn't. What's the pieces of floating wreckage out there represent? Lies. I told you a person sets up his own answer, the religious creed, the activity, the vacation, the doubling of his income, being applauded at some public event. That's his lie. And he floats on it just as long as that meeting takes place down where he's honored for a little bit. And then it sinks When he gets home, it sinks and he has to find another one. He even finds all the sourness and all the anger that he can find inside himself and floats on that, and that betrays him also, and so he sinks. Now, time for you to have your own self-biography. Time for you to clearly identify the self-created answers, solutions, things to float on and to carry you. Time for you to identify them so that you can say, away with this kind of a life. It's getting darker out on that ocean all the time, and I may run out of things to cling to. Why don't I abandon this madness altogether and start using my energy to swim for shore? That's what you have to do. You can do it. But you're going to have to understand what I'm talking about, and you're going to have to be a very, very earnest individual to indeed identify and know just what pieces of floating wreckage you are now trying to get to support you, and they don't. Aren't you always alternating between a little exhilaration over something? At last I found it. At last I found the person. Someone who's stronger than I am. At last I've found the group, whatever you've been leaning on. At last I've found it. And then the doubts creep in. As long as you demand life to meet you on your terms, you will never have a mind of your own. You'll have to be continually looking around for something to float on, and it will always sink. Your recognition of what I have just explained to you is essential. This is your part, to know that you're doing it. And I'll give you a few clues. There will always be nervous vanity involved when you think that you are going to float on something out there in the ocean. Nervous vanity. That means you're going to be so glad that you've at last found something that's going to be solid and you can float on and won't sink down. How long have you been saying that to yourself? How many bits of wreckage have you gone to and from? How many people in your life? How many boyfriends, girlfriends, marriages, children, activities, so-called loves? Thinking about money, think about acquisition. How many times have you done that? Well, let me tell you, whatever you're floating on right now, any moment now, it's going to slide down underneath you, and down you go, getting soaked and choking and gulping again. Now you have to look around and see if there's another one out there, something else. What if you had the simple sense to turn in the direction of land and swim and ignore all floating bits of wreckage? Swim and swim. When you get to shore, with your feet on solid ground, what have you got to worry about now? Do you have to worry about the water? You have to worry about whether you're going to find something else, some person, something to hold you up. Nothing out in the sea of trouble will ever support you. You might as well understand that right now so you don't waste your mind in life anymore. You got into that particular faulty boat and set out in the sea, so it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to get back to shore. You left shore. You left the solid ground. You wanted something. What was it you wanted? What's fallen apart for you in the last few weeks, for example? Find some small, 2 or 3 little things. You've had a little project, little plan. Some comfort, some hope that was going to support you. Where is it now? It's gone, isn't it? And the one you've got right now is going to collapse right under you, and you're going to gulp again. This is because, as I started the talk with, you wanted things to be according to the way you want them to be. And that is not the way it works in truth. It doesn't work in your way. Nothing has worked for you. Think about your human relationships, for example. Now, I know you're with someone and you have nice dinner together and maybe have watched TV together and you talk with each other and you make plans. I'm aware of that. That's fine on the social level. Do you really think that you were put here on earth to find a man or a woman, get married, or have a relationship, and have dinner and TV together and go on little trips together? Well, that makes an enjoyable evening, makes an enjoyable day. But how come that fun, that companionship, that money-making, business activity, how come you're scared, still scared? Being with that man, ladies, didn't and doesn't take away a single tiny tremor inside of you. Having sex with that woman, gentlemen, you're wondering where you're going to find the next woman now. And all the time, you're scared. Scared you're going to grow older. Maybe some woman won't want you at all. Maybe get a little older, huh? You're not seeing something that is screaming inside of you for you to notice it. You're not listening to it. Listen to it now. Stop covering it up. Stop putting blankets of confusion and foolishness and vanity. Stop putting those blankets over it. Take the blankets off so you can hear what it's saying. That's known as facing the problem. You think you face problems now. You don't even know what it means to face a problem. You have the slightest notion. You're a chronic evader and you don't even know that. To prove it, the shaking is still there. Because if you actually confronted yourself, the fact that you demand from life and from people, if you confronted that and see that this is what you do, and then see that that is your wrong nature making the demands, and you investigated the wrong nature, you would abolish that inside of you, and you'd become real. Then you're not going to worry about anything, because you're not going to, if you're real, you don't worry about anything, because the worrier has vanished. It is no longer there. Huh? Aren't you a worrier? That means that you're this demander that I talked about. That means that you think, listen, don't miss this. It means that you think that your demands must be fulfilled or you'll be lost. The demander is already lost. To demand is to be a loser. Nothing but a loser.